Wir sind hier auf dem Kolberg.
We are here upon the Kolberg, Energy Research Center Kolberg, in which we operate some laboratories for energy and consciousness research.
Der Kolberg liegt im Landkreis Dahme-Spree.
The Kolberg is located in Dahme-Spreewald on Wolziger Lake in a beautiful lakes area on the edge of a nature reserve. The place Kolberg was created as a recreational area for Berlin. A farmer owned this mountain and then eventually decided that it would be good to sell plots to people in search for recreation around the turn of the century.
Dann kam nach dem Zweiten Weltkrieg in den 50er Jahren.
Then, after the Second World War in the 50s, the former GDR decided that she needs a research institute for radio wave propagation, because they had none, and decided to build this beautiful ensemble here with very good buildings, a luxury project.
Luxusbau. Also hier haben mal 250, 300 Leute gearbeitet. Hier war also sozusagen wo wir hier stehen, war was los.
Here worked up to 300 people. This was a place of action. Then, after the so-called German reunification, the Telekom got it. The Telekom was already a private company which no longer was engaged in research. The place was quickly closed and then we found this site in 2010.
Und dann haben wir diesen Standort 2010 gefunden.
Andreas found it with his finger on the map because there was this spiral shape of the road that interested him. A few months later, we again found it in an auction catalogue. In a very short concerted action with 3 people in only 2 weeks, we decided to set up the financing and participated in the auction and won. Extremely close, but won, and since then we've been developing the site here.
Und seitdem entwickeln wir den Standort hier. Es war vom Vandalismus verschont im Wesentlichen.
It was basically spared from vandalism, although here and there things are missing. But inside it was not fully broken, but in need of renovation anyway. But the building's fabric is actually incredibly good. It's brick covered with stone. In the 50s they really invested heart and soul to build a beautiful location. On the mountain dwell people who have worked here before, to some way of contact, who told us a lot how it was here. Some had worked here before the site was built, because research had started in the villas around.
Überhaupt gebaut wurde, weil hier in den Villen drumherum hat diese Forschung mal begonnen. Und jetzt fangen wir an, hier die Labore zu benutzen.
Now we begin to use the labs here. It's a very nice location. No road goes through the site. We are on a mountain. You have a beautiful view of the forest. There is inspiration here. We have a clear area. We have a lot of space, and that offers a lot of options on what to do. The ensemble also includes a tall antenna tower, which earlier hosted the weather data recordings.
Ja, hier sehen wir die alten Messschreiber.
Here we see the old pen recorders in the tower laboratory. Here weather data were recorded. In the garden were various devices that collected rainwater, and here was noted how much raindrops fell, how much water came down. In order to put the propagation of electromagnetic waves in relation to the weather. Electromagnetic waves propagate differently if much water is in the atmosphere. In particular, drops reflect and so on, and that was also examined here.
Insbesondere Tropfen reflektieren und so weiter, und das wurde hier auch untersucht.
From past to present to the new utilization.
Wir befinden uns hier hinter dem Hauptgebäude auf
Here
der
we are
schönen
behind the
Galerie
main
im
building
Wald.
on the beautiful
Wir
gallery
haben
towards
unter
the
uns
forest.
die
In the
Werkstätten,
basement we have the
liefern
workshops
Gefäße
with
und
lathe
was
milling
man
machine
sonst so braucht,
and
um
whatever
kleine
we
Dinge
need to make
herzustellen.
small
Hier ein
things.
Seminarraum, in dem
We
man
have a
sich
seminar
austauschen
room
kann.
where you can
Und im
exchange
ersten Stock
ideas,
sind
and
einige
first
Labore.
floor there are
Wir
some
machen
laboratories.
ja Energieforschung, also wir haben einige
We do
physikalische
energy
Labore, um
research.
Energie zu
We have
messen,
some physical
Wirkungsgrad zu messen.
laboratories to
Wir
measure
haben
energy, to
ein
measure
Labor,
efficiency.
zwei Labore,
We
in
have two
denen wir
laboratories in which we
Bewusstseinsforschung
make
machen,
consciousness research,
verschiedene
various
Geräte, die wir dort
devices that we
betreiben,
operate there,
und
and an
ein
optics laboratory
Optiklabor
with
mit Lasern,
lasers
in
in
denen
which we
wir
are setting
gerade
up something
etwas
to explore
aufbauen,
individual ions, how they
Einzelionen
interact
zu
with
erforschen,
consciousness.
wie sie sich mit
We
dem
also have a
Bewusstsein
Faraday
verhalten.
room in this
Wir
building
haben auch noch einen
that is a
Faraday-Raum in
completely
diesem
shielded room.
Gebäude, also einen völlig abgeschirmten Raum. Also hier befinden wir uns jetzt in meinem zentralen Labor.
Here we are now in my
Wir
central
bereiten
laboratory.
hier
We prepare here the
die
atomic trap for
vor
our
für
big
unser
consciousness
großes
experiment,
Bewusstseinsexperiment,
in
wo wir
which we want to
einzelne
look at individual electrons, to which extent
anschauen
they can be
wollen,
influenced by
inwieweit man
thoughts.
sie mit Gedanken beeinflussen kann. Dafür bauen wir hier eine
In the vacuum
Atomfalle, oder
device
haben wir
behind
in
me,
der
we set up an
Vakuumapparatur
ion
hinter mir
trap,
eine
a so-called
Ionenfalle
linear
aufgebaut.
Paul trap.
Eine
There you
sogenannte
can, with high frequency, in this
lineare
case 6
Paul-Falle.
MHz, store
Da
ions.
kann man mit Hochfrequenz, in diesem Fall 6 MHz, Ionen speichern. Und dazu sind verschiedene Apparaturen nötig. Zum einen
For this,
brauchen wir
various
sehr gutes
apparatuses are
Vakuum,
necessary.
dann müssen wir die
First, we need a very good
Hochfrequenz
vacuum,
aufbereiten,
then we
und
must
dann gibt's
prepare
noch
the high
verschiedene
frequency,
Analysegeräte,
and then
die
there
zum
are
Beispiel
several
die
analytical
Ionenzähler,
devices, such
dann
as, for example,
paar
to
zusätzliche
count
Geräte,
ions.
die man
And
braucht,
then a
um
few extra equipment
Dinge zu
that you need
analysieren
to look
und
inside
zu
the
schauen,
chamber
ob man da
and
drin
see whether
Ionen
there
hat
are
oder
ions
nicht.
or not.
Genau.
But
wir
essentially, the ions
sollen
are
da
held
drinnen
with
mit
simple
einfachen
metal rods.
Metallstäben
Coupled to a
Ionen
laser
gehalten
beam
werden,
from
die
the
dann
optical laboratory,
gekoppelt mit
the
dem
ions are
Laserstrahl
cooled
aus
and
dem
then
Optiklabor
analyzed.
gekühlt und dann analysiert werden.
Um dann die einzelnen Ionen später zu sehen.
In order to see the individual ions and also to cool them, we need a complicated laser setup. It starts with a high-power laser that pumps a dye laser. The light from the dye laser then has to be doubled in frequency so that we get the ultraviolet light that we need to stimulate individual ions. This is all set up here on the optical table, which is vibration damped and has room for all laser systems. Finally, we use the laser light for cooling the individual ions in the trap, and also to detect the individual ions with a special camera in order to see the spin flip in the end.
Also der zentrale Aufbau des Experimentes ist, dass eine Versuchsperson, ja,
The central structure of the experiment is that a test person attempts to change by thoughts a single atom, in this case even a single electron, which is stored in the apparatus, to change the spin of the electron. Someone is sitting, no matter where, maybe in the next room, then there is a picture that he sees, and then there is a camera that monitors the individual ions which glow in the laser beam. And in that moment, when the spin flip, the spin change took place, the atom is no longer lit, suddenly gets dark. And if you reverse it, it lights up again and you can see it again with the camera. The subject thus sees a picture where, let's say, 5 atoms are in a row, and then he switches one off. By thoughts, he triggers this spin flip. And then it goes off in the row, and when he again turns the spin back, then it comes on again.
Den Spin wieder zurückdreht, dann leuchtet es wieder.
Seit ungefähr 3 Jahren befindet sich jetzt das Institut für angewandte Bewusstseinsforschung hier auf dem Kolberg.
For about 3 years, the Institute of Applied Consciousness Research is here at Kolberg. The institute was founded in 2008 by the 4 researchers Markus Fromm, Markus Schmieger, Dr. Thorsten Ludwig and Marco Bischoff. We are engaged in the study of mind-matter interaction and have established various experiments to try to influence them with meditation and other mind-expanding methods.
Versucht zu beeinflussen. Zum einen haben wir aufgebaut die Torsionswaage nach Kozyrew.
On one hand, we have set up the Kozyrew torsion balance. There is a floating pointer suspended only by a single nylon thread that should be turned by the power of thought and meditation.
Bewegt werden. Zum anderen gibt es ein Forschungsprojekt zusammen.
On the other hand, there is a research project together with Professor Tiller from the United States to influence the pH of the water. For this purpose, two different experiments are constructed. One is located here with a pH meter, and the other experiment is constructed here with another pH meter. The consideration for this is that you can influence the pH of the water by meditation. We run a long-term measurement for checking it.
Wo das überprüft wird, inwieweit man das machen kann, inwieweit das geht. Am Ende haben wir noch ein
At the end of this row, we have constructed an experiment in which the room temperature is recorded and the CO2 content in the room and the magnetic field. By this we want to check all the environmental factors and see that there is no correlation, no influence by environmental factors. Our volunteers are in the next room. We have built up a room where you can relax, a good basis to meditate and to influence the experiments. A monitor cable was installed so you can watch the torsion balance in order to see the influence. The influence causes an effect in the next room.
Und die Beeinflussung findet also im Nachbarraum statt.
Wir machen in diesem Labor auch, untersuchen wir Energie.
We study in this laboratory also energy devices, in particular energy appliances that provide excess energy. Here we have, for example, a coil which is based on the Rodin coil, a so-called OH coil that someone has dropped off, and we test it with our equipment, together with the inventor, whether additional energy is generated. Here we see a replica of the power generator by Hans Kohler. Hans Kohler was a Navy captain who built several free energy devices in the 20s of the last century. This electricity generator was tested at several German universities and international universities, whether it provides energy anomalies, more energy than the electric input.
Das ist Energieanomalien, also mehr Energie liefert, als man elektrisch hineinsteckt. Was wir hier sehen, sind also
What we see here are copper plates, flat coils, and here iron cores, magnets, through them, and that is typical for Hans Kohler, current is passed. So we have a resonance system consisting of the magnetic stimulation of the iron, the current flowing through the iron, and a mechanical component. They produce an oscillation in this coil that runs around. This is typical of Kohler, that these different oscillation systems are coupled to each other.
In dieser Spule, die drumherum läuft. Und das ist typisch für Kohler, dass diese verschiedenen Schwingungssysteme ineinander verkoppelt sind. Ja? Das hier ist der Aufbau, den wir untersuchen.
This is the structure that we investigate. We also prepare changes with these air coils here. The unit provides energy. It is battery operated. We have studied for many years the other device by Kohler, the so-called magnetic flow apparatus with its typical magnetic hexagon. There is no input power. Hans Kohler has developed that device after this device in order to show that the principle works even without input power. But in this stimulated system, one can easier examine a variety of phenomena. We have recreated the unit for the German Association for Space Energy and examine it.
Wir hoffen, Ihnen hat die kleine Einführung in das Forschungszentrum Kolberg gefallen.
We hope that you enjoyed the introduction to the Kolberg Research Center. We like to work with other researchers and inventors and other interested parties. In case you are interested in our work, contact us, come by. If you are an energy inventor or look for new energy technologies, you are invited to come by. Please contact us. We will look what we can do, and also for consciousness research, if you are interested, come over, get in touch with us, and we look forward to working with you.
Mit Ihnen zusammenzuarbeiten.